Hey, friend, welcome to She Said, She Said podcast. I'm your host, Laura Cox Kaplan, and I'm really happy to have you here. Today's episode is a great one, and it's very close to my heart. It's about using what you have to make a difference. It is about resilience. It's about the power of connection and community. I am joined by my wonderful friend, Yael Goodman. Yael is an Israeli-based tour guide who has a particular gift for bringing to life these incredible historic sites and honoring the history and tradition that connects Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It's a beautiful thing. And when back in 2023, when I took my first trip to Israel along with my entire extended family, Joel and I, my husband and I, took our entire family, his family, who is Jewish, my family, my parents, who are Southern Baptist, our kids, our nieces and nephews. And the experience was one that I consider to be, frankly, one of the most transformative travel experiences, if not the most transformative travel experiences of my life. And a big part of that was the talents and skills of having an amazing tour guide like Yael, who really brought to life these connection points and why all of the history matters and understanding that history matters so much. After when October 7th, the horrors of October 7th happened and Hamas attacked Israel, Yael took her skills and deployed them a bit differently. And she's going to talk about that in this conversation. I think you're going to find her and her perspective incredibly inspiring. Before we jump into this episode, I do want to dedicate today's conversation to the victims of October the 7th, to the hostages that remain in captivity. I can't even imagine the horrors and what those individuals have gone through and their families. You remain in my heart and in my prayers, as I'm sure is true for many members of this audience. So with that, I want to take us to the episode 338, with my friend, Yael Goodman. Yael, my wonderful friend, welcome to She Said, She Said.
Oh my gosh, Laura, it's amazing to be here. It's so good to see you.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. And you and I met several years ago, as I said in the open, when we took our family to Israel. And it was truly the most transformative travel experiences that I've ever had. But I think this is true of my whole family. And a big part of that was because of you and how you brought our shared history to life. And I think because I know a bit about your background and I find that so fascinating, I think that's probably like a big part of kind of how you approach your work. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you ended up doing what you're doing, because your story is fascinating.
Wow. First of all, thank you. I think my passion and love to guide Israel and Jerusalem. I mean, let me start off in saying that I wanted to be a vet when I was little. But I think something else happened. You know, my background is very similar to your background, where my mother grew up in a Roman Catholic family from Oklahoma City. I'm part Chickasaw Native. And she met my dad in the Peace Corps. They knew each other for a week. My father, a Jew from Massachusetts. They got married. And after the Peace Corps, they just decided to come to Israel for a year, and they stayed for 57 years until today. So me and all my siblings were born and raised in Jerusalem, but having Catholic family all over Oklahoma and Texas. And from my dad's side, Jewish family from the East Coast. And so I think that Judeo-Christian upbringing that I had, I think Jerusalem is the perfect place to grow up when you have this background. So I was infatuated with this history of theology and, going to the sites and learning them. And I think this is what led me to decide to become a tour guide, when I got out of the army. I was like, okay, what should I do when I'm big? And Laura, I have this memory of my grandmother from Oklahoma coming to visit Jerusalem. And she was, Roman Catholic from Oklahoma. She was this noble woman. And my mother would just tell me, she'd break out with her Oklahoma accent and she would say, "Sugar doll, take it to the church." And the only church I knew was the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So
Right.
I used to take my grandmother to the church. And so as a child growing up in Jerusalem, going to these churches, growing up in a Jewish family, I think it was kind of like a great setting for me to become a tour guide.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. I love how your history really inspired this approach, but you have a real gift as a storyteller as well. And also I think, and this, perhaps is because of your background, you also have a unique ability to meet people where they are. And with we had a big group of family. We had 16 family members with us on the tour that you did over about 10 or 12 days, all across Israel. And you could pick up on what someone needed. I mean, you knew the history, which is, again, like you said, not dissimilar from your own, but you picked up on what someone needed in order to keep them engaged. Maybe talk a little bit about that as a skill set, because it doesn't matter whether you're a tour guide or doing practically any other kind of work. That's a tremendous skill. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, thank you. I think being a middle child um, really put you in the middle of everything. So from the moment I was born, I think I was in this place of trying to figure out how everyone is, and I adjust myself. Um, and I know that for me, one of the most important things for anyone, I think, is to be seen, is
Mhm.
when someone validates the moment that you're in right now. And it works both ways, because once you meet someone where they are and you see a pain or a happiness that you can relate to at that moment, you just go deeper into a connection.
Mhm.
And it's not about the guiding or the information, it's about the connection that you make with people. And then the
Right.
information rests on ears that are connected to you and to your story. So it's all about connections, right? It's the connection between me and what we had on our trip. It's the connection between our stories. It's the connection between how I tell my story, which I'm very passionate about. It's
Mhm.
the connection to the land. So I think it's about connecting. And I think that I'm a very connecting kind of person, going back to being a middle child, because you have to. I also always find myself between, my girlfriends who are fighting. I'm the one who makes the peace. It's always that peacemaker, that connecting person, the host at the cocktail party. Have you met him? Have you met him? Come, let's meet.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love that. So you did something interesting with your tour business a number of years ago, and kind of innovated based on you really got passionate about movement. Talk a little bit about that evolution of your business several years ago and kind of how that came about. I'm talking about the running tours, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, I have to begin with the fact that I was very overweight 10 years ago. Um, I weighed 60 pounds more, and I decided that I have to get into shape. Leaving all this weight from all the pregnancies is just, I can go both ways, stay like this or move on. And I
Right.
fell in love with movement. I started running 500 yards and I thought I was going to die. And then I started running, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, triathlons. I really fell in love with sports. And I just decided at some point, as I'm running through Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is not an easy terrain to run. It's a lot of uphills. I was like, wow, this is so cool that I know this history. I'm like running by these walls, and I'm like, I have all these stories in my head while I'm running them. And I had this sentence in my head, running through thousands of years of history. Like, this is what I'm doing. And I used to bring friends. You have to come see this. And so slowly, I built running tours, which is a tour where you just run from place to place instead of walking. And the guiding points are short and concise and not long, because you want to keep it, upbeat.
Yeah.
So that's the business called Run JLM. It's my running tour business. And I had the honor of learning Jerusalem through my feet and through my heartbeat. Um, I have many different routes all around Jerusalem, and it became great until the war started.
I I want to pivot and talk about how you took something that might seem at first a bit counterintuitive, but when October 7th, the horrors of October 7th happened, you did something really interesting. And so I want you to maybe talk us through those moments, I mean, this is, I know it's so painful for you. I mean, I don't have words to describe how heartbroken, and how horrible I feel. I really don't have the words to express all of that. So I want to, approach this with so much sensitivity, but I also want to, focus on what you've done in terms of helping people find hope and connection and community. And so, saying it that way, let's talk about what happened in maybe those days after October 7th and how you responded.
October 7th caught us all off guard. It was hard to understand what happened in that day. It took weeks to kind of like figure out what happened and the magnitude and depth of atrocities that we went through. And at the same time, people were evacuated from their homes to all sorts of cities in Jerusalem, in Israel, including Jerusalem. So overnight, Jerusalem was filled with 80,000 evacuees in all the hotels. Clearly, everything stopped. Tourism, flights, everything stopped. And I found myself wanting to do something. And I have to say, about all of us Israelis, I wasn't alone in wanting to do something. Everybody did something. But there were 80,000 evacuees in Jerusalem, and I think that every single person in Israel who wasn't called to serve in the army and reserves was thinking of what can I do? What can I do for these evacuees, for what's going on? And so it started for me making sandwiches, and I'm like, anyone can make sandwiches. What can I do that's different? What is my skill that I can give other people? And for me, running is therapy. It's always been my therapy. In addition to movement and sports, it's my place to process. It's my place to dissolve pain. It's my place of solitude and just being in my body. And that made me understand that there are runners here. There are a lot of runners in Israel, and there must be runners in these hotels. And so I just decided one day to go and find the runners. And I went from hotel to hotel, and I looked for the runners. And, we wear garments. We have a way that we wear things. We're kind of like a cult, runners all over the world. And I started taking them out for runs. So slowly we became groups of people from different hotels in different areas. And I have all these running routes because of my running tours. So I'm all ready to go. I don't even have to think about where I'm going to take them to run. I didn't do the tours with them. I didn't supply them with history. It's kind of like, I don't think they want to hear anything. I didn't want to say anything. Our state of mind we're in an acute situation. This massive war started.
Sure.
Where did this come from? And they themselves experienced a massacre. They themselves were out there. They're runners, right? They're all triathletes and runners, the people that I met. And they were out there running or riding their bikes when at 6:29 in the morning, when all the sirens went off, they were on bike rides, they were running, and running saved them. They ran for their lives.
Yeah.
And there was something about these runs that enabled them to talk about it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe talk a little bit about maybe the initial reaction when you said to people, let's get together, let's put a group together, let's go on a run together, let's sort of, basically you were creating that community and that connection, but what was the initial reaction of
Well,
people?
there's the reaction of runners, and there's the reaction of the people who are telling them about the run who don't run. Right?
Yeah.
So like in every hotel, there was like a volunteer coordinator who was coordinating all the volunteer work. And so I went to these volunteers and I said, if anybody wants to run, tell them to call me. And they look at me like, why would you want to do that to them? And I said, trust me, if there are runners, they're going to want to run. And slowly, I get phone calls. Hey, could you come for a run with me? Hey, could you come for a run with me? So the runners were looking for it. They were looking for it because on the one hand, they want to go for a run. On the other hand, they're in a foreign city. Jerusalem is a complicated city. It has, Arabs living here, Jews living here. You don't really know where you are. You just came from this massive trauma. You want to know where you're running to. So I was able to just help them find routes around their hotels. In addition, they did not have any running shoes or running attire. It's like, it's like you ask yourself, what are you going to take from your house if you're told that you have 10 minutes to leave? I
Right.
definitely would take my sneakers, but I haven't been through what they've been through. And some of them forgot to take their running gear. So I was like, okay, I need to buy them running shoes. I need to buy them running shoes. And so I started to collect money. I started to fundraise. And in my family, we have a little foundation in honor of my late brother, 24 years already since he's gone. And we created a foundation
Uh,
that honors volunteer sports and community. And I'm like, whoa, this fits. So I have all this family from Oklahoma and Texas and Massachusetts. So I wrote my cousins, not even my uncles. I'm just my generation. Um, and I fundraised probably maybe $30,000 in 2 weeks. And I bought them shoes. And they all got brand new shoes. And because if you want to create a breathing space, you need to give them infrastructure for running in that breathing space. And so shoes is the basic. And so it started from shoes. I just equipped them, everyone.
And your whole effort has continued to grow. You've created, essentially a charity out of this, and you've continued to expand this concept. So maybe talk a little bit about how this has continued to grow and expand in ways that my guess is you're probably a bit surprised by this.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
Is
like,
that fair?
I feel like this is what this is what I've been waiting for my whole life without knowing that I was waiting for it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That whole idea of essentially finding your purpose,
I found
right?
my purpose. I thought it
Mm.
was teaching and history in Jerusalem, but that got me ready for running tours, which got me ready for this moment.
Yeah.
And helping people heal through movement is mind blowing to me. And I realized that this is not a product of October. It's a product of October 7th, but it's going to last for decades because healing takes decades. It's not only right now. I mean, 2 years into the war, this is where everything is coming out. The survivors
Right.
have been in survival until now. And right now is where everything is landing. And
Mhm.
it's a lot. And so they have the running. Running
Yeah.
is a therapeutic tool.
Yeah. That's amazing. Um, I would love, Yael, to pivot the conversation a little bit and maybe get your perspective on there's so much misinformation, there's so much hate, there's so much anger, there's a lot of emotions that I feel like people are feeling and expressing that may or may not have the basis in fact and reality. I would love for you, with your scholar hat on, to talk about what you wish people knew and understood about what is happening right now in Israel, what happened on October 7th. What do you wish people understood better?
That wars are ugly and disgusting, and that there
Mm,
are casualties on both sides. That's number one. Number two, I think that we're blamed for things that aren't true. I mean, I see the humanitarian trucks going to Gaza every day, and I know what happens to
mm,
those trucks and why the poor civilians don't get that. I know that
right,
we are not an apartheid state. You come to Jerusalem, you see Muslims studying in Hebrew University. They have freedom of prayer and speech. They can go to the academia. They can be citizens over here. I mean, that's a lot of misinformation. I know that we're
right.
perceived as warmongers and these evil people. And then I look at us and I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. And I also I guide American congressmen and a lot of advisors to the American government. And they ask me, they're like, why doesn't the world know what we're seeing here? I must say that we
Uh-huh.
are very behind on Generation Z and how we present the story. We can do a much better job. But I want people to know that Israelis are incredible people. And I feel like we're just being blamed for things that we didn't even do. The word genocide is absurd when I have friends who are officers and who go and make sure that they let the people know to leave the house so that they can find a Hamas tunnel that is holding possible hostages. But then it's depicted as that we're killing civilians. But the Hamas hides behind civilians. So what are we supposed to do? If you speak to any army professional, they say that we are number one in, I don't know how you say it in English, but like when you've inside combat, like inside home combat, where it's not like outside, it's like inside where you have to, it's like, so we surgically try to kill the enemies, but trying to save civilians. And we work so hard by doing it, by putting in groundwork, losing 900 soldiers. What, you think we could bomb everything from the air? But we're blamed for the words genocide and apartheid. I'm like, where did they come up with that? It's so far from the truth that and then we feel so isolated. It's beyond my knowledge on how the information comes out of here in such a deformed way.
Right. Your perspective is so important and so valuable. I think for folks to hear, it is traveling to Israel right now is probably not an option for an awful lot of people, and I am beyond grateful for having had that experience prior to October 7th, because my framework for understanding, as we started this conversation, my framework for understanding my own history, my own religious history, the shared history of my family, global history, just understanding all of the dimensions were enriched so exponentially by the ability to actually see these places on my own. And so for lack of that, for people that don't have that option at this point, what advice do you have for maybe understanding these issues better if they aren't able to actually go and visit you? And hopefully they will be able to at some point soon, but maybe talk a little bit about in lieu of that, what you would recommend in terms of
I would just
deepening their
recommend for everyone
understanding
I
what's
just
really
think of
happening.
education, just to educate yourself. I think that
Mhm.
before you blame anyone for anything, educate yourself. I think that
Mhm.
educating will solve all the misunderstanding that we have over here. We don't do a good job in explaining what's going on over here because we're busy fighting a war.
Right.
But we do have dear friends that do a lot of great explaining for us. If it's Douglas Murray, you can listen to him. He has a great perspective. I can send you later a few links of different places where you can educate yourself. But like, what is the Jordan to the sea? Where is the Jordan? Where is the sea? How are those borders created? There's a lot of history that is inaccurate with the people who blame us for things that we didn't do. So if you want to blame us, fine.
Right.
But know what you're blaming us for. Be specific. Make sure that you have your facts right. Because I think that once people will learn the history, back to, going back to the historian part of me, I think they won't feel that way so much about us anymore. Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, we're not perfect. Yeah, we did a lot of bad things. War is disgusting and ugly.
Um, Yael, maybe let's talk a little bit about, for anyone listening who has been through, something horrible, they're grieving, they're dealing with pain or a situation that they're not sure how to deal with. Maybe talk a little bit about your perspective on using what you have and what you know. We talked about this earlier in the conversation, but maybe advice for anybody who's struggling with how she can help, in a situation that maybe seems so big and so awful. She doesn't know what to do. Maybe advice for her.
I think that each and every one of us has that special thing that we're very good at. Each of us has our box of tools that we know how to use in different places. I think that the instinct is to jump into the drama and just do what everyone's doing, right? Like I made sandwiches because that's what everyone was doing. But then I took back a moment. Like, just take a deep breath and see where is your place to give from you. Because when it comes deep from within you and you know that you can help in that place, you can't stop once it starts. So I think that it's individual. For me, it was just like connecting the running and movement and taking people out and continuing to build all those communities all over Israel. And I don't want to stop, and I can't because the need is high. And so taking this little moment that I'm like, I'm going to take them for a run. And where it got to today, I followed my gut and my heart. And that's what I want to tell her. Follow your gut and your heart. Listen to yourself. Like, we know best what we know how to do, what we're good at. We know inside.
I love that. Yael, how can folks find you if they want to learn a little bit more about what you're working on and maybe connect with you directly?
Perfect. Well, there's a website called Tani Goodman, TaniGoodman, in honor of my brother. The foundation that my family built not long after his passing was revived on October 7th with all the fundraising I did through my family. And that funding, and I'm always looking for partners. We have already 140 runners nationwide. We built 13 groups based on common denominators. So if it's reservists who are coming out from, serving for hundreds of days, come to like a space where everyone is a reservist and they don't need to talk. They know that they're in a space where they can just be and run and move. And, those elements of movement and talking and mindfulness, you practice mindfulness in running. You practice mindfulness. You have this amazing internal pharmacy in your body. It's like runner's high is a real thing. So all these combinations of running in the community and mindfulness and the pharmacy and talking really create these incredible therapeutic spaces. I'm very proud that I opened a group for women who our husbands are injured and are waiting in the hospital. So I have a group of 10 women who all they do is wait for their husbands to come out of a coma or wait for a limb to get back on. I mean, we're talking about terrible situations, but we give them an ability to take a moment to breathe and to heal. And so we're always looking for more partners to adopt a runner when you come to Israel to meet our runners, it's such an inspiring move for hope and resilience and moving on and looking forward and not like looking back and wallowing on the past, but just like having hope and literally moving forward. Literally, traumas in our body. We move our body and move forward. And so that ability to give through the foundation in honor of my brother, through family that started to donate, through many people who became our partners. And it's just growing. So the Tani Goodman or the Tani Fund is where you can find all our work.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I loved seeing you. I'm so proud of you for what you have built. It is truly inspiring, and I'm really grateful for the time today.
Me too. Thank you so much. And thank you for anyone who listened.